the light heavyweight world title unification this weekend between Artur Beterbiev and Joe Smith Jr. Now, I'm expecting Artur Beterbiev to win this fight. Joe Smith Jr. is a big, strong light heavyweight. He can obviously punch. He's tough. He's determined. He's got a ton of heart. Artur Beterbiev has been down before. He has been hurt before. We saw that against Callum Johnson. However, he got off the canvas and he was able to use his superior skills against Callum Johnson to get the job done in the end. And in that instance, it was by stoppage. So I'm expecting something similar here from Beterbiev if Joe Smith Jr. manages to hurt him or drop him. And Joe Smith Jr. hurts and drops a lot of people. We saw him hurt Artur Beterbiev, for example. He lost that fight comprehensively on the scorecards, but he did hurt Beterbiev quite badly in that fight. So I have absolutely no doubt that Joe Smith Jr. has the ability to hurt Beterbiev, but I also believe that Beterbiev has the ability to hurt Joe Smith Jr. If I had to put money on it, I would say, contrary to what seems to be the logic, I think this fight probably goes the distance. Sometimes when you get two big punches in there, they can cancel each other out because a lot of people assume two big punching aggressive guys, it's not going the distance. Well, sometimes it does go the distance because both guys are so wary of the other one's power that they maybe don't let the kind of shots go that they normally would, and it ends up being a stalemate. Now, I don't think this is going to be a boring fight necessarily, but I do expect both guys to be respectful of the other's power and a little bit of a boxing match to break out. And in a boxing match, Artur Beterbiev is the superior man in my view. He's got the better skills. As we saw again in the Callum Johnson fight, if he does get hurt, he can box. He doesn't usually have to box because coming forward and applying pressure, hitting guys with those short, powerful shots usually gets the job done. But when it doesn't, he does have a plan B to go to. Now, an example of a fight where you had two big punches and people were expecting an explosive knockout and it turned out to be a cagey affair would be several years ago with the Vladimir Klitschko-David Haye fight. Now, it's easy in retrospect to look back and say, oh yeah, but Haye always fought cautious as a heavyweight and Vladimir was always cautious. Look, at the time, people didn't see it that way. I was one of the few people at the time who thought the fight would go the distance and Vladimir Klitschko would win on points. Other people were saying, no, there's no way because both guys are tremendous punchers. Both guys are kind of chinny. They don't have the greatest punch resistance. So when you put those things together, it can't go to 12, but it did, right? Because each guy was cognizant of the fact that, yes, I can punch, but the other guy can punch too. And the other guy's got maybe less than stellar punch resistance, but so do I. You see? And this caused the stalemate. Now, in the case of Beterbiev and Smith, I don't think either of them have any punch resistance issues. I know Beterbiev has been down. Joe Smith Jr. was stopped early on in his career. But subsequent to that, we've seen Joe Smith Jr. hang tough with several of the top guys. So he can take a shot, no question about it. And Artur Beterbiev, yeah, he gets dropped by Callum Johnson. Callum Johnson can punch. Do you know what I mean? It's not like Callum Johnson's some kind of feather-fisted fighter. He can really punch. So Beterbiev was able to recover from that. So, yeah, I think that probably going to be a bit of a boxing match, which seems counterintuitive. If a fight does break out, I expect Joe Smith Jr. to have his fair share of success. But ultimately, I think Beterbiev's class will tell in this fight, and he will win I want to say unanimous decision on the scorecards to unify. Joe Smith Jr., of course, has the WBO World Light Heavyweight title. Beterbiev has the WBC and IBF. Let me know what you guys think about this fight in the comments section below.